Let's take a look at another example. Remember Brenda? She's reached the point in her negotiation where vacation time is an issue. She wants more than the company is willing to offer, but she also knows that she's willing to forego additional vacation time in lieu of other types of compensation. Let's see what she is able to negotiate.
You mentioned another area of concern you wanted to discuss?
Yes. See, I anticipate a lot of extra hours in preparing the financial reports at the end of each quarter, and you can certainly count on me to do that. However, I was hoping that I would be able to take some long weekends as the schedule permits. But I understand from AWS policy that I'm not supposed to take any vacation within the first 6 months of employment?
Yes, that's right, Brenda. But the AWS philosophy emphasizes results, not a 9-to-5 regimen.
Well, that sounds fair. However, I would still feel more comfortable if we can formalize this somehow. Could you put it in writing?
I don't see why not.
In the next example, Ted is ready to negotiate his salary. He's prepared himself by researching industry salary ranges for his position. There are many ways to do this. Networking, professional membership associations, trade associations, the internet, and published salary surveys are only a few. As in each negotiation, the key to success is understanding and, if necessary, restating your worth to the hiring manager. Let's see how Ted handles this important milestone in the negotiation process.
All right, Ted, all that's left now is to talk about salary. Have you given some thought to the figures we've discussed?
I have, and I've done a little research. What CNS is offering is only a few percentage points above my previous salary. It falls below the mid-range of the industry standard. Since my accomplishments are well beyond the norm, I had anticipated a higher level of compensation, perhaps even approaching the top of the range.
I'm aware that our salary ranges are currently a little below what the industry offers. But we like to think that we're competitive in other areas, especially with regard to benefits. In fact, the package we're offering you is right at our established mid-range. But I think we could go a little higher, perhaps to the midpoint between where we are now and the top of our established range.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're willing to be flexible on this point. But this still falls short of the offers I've considered closer to home. In light of the commitment I'll be demonstrating by relocating my family and the risk associated with managing a product in beta testing, I was wondering if there's anything else that CNS can do to make the offer a little more attractive.
You're very diplomatic, Ted. I can't go any higher on the salary at this point. But I'll tell you what I can do. How would you feel about moving your first performance review from 12 months to 6 months? Provided you meet your established goals, which I have no reason to think that you won't, we'll make an adjustment at that time.
That's completely acceptable, Mary. I also think it's important, though, that my performance goals be clearly defined in writing as soon as possible. I'd also like to have it made clear that my next review be only 1 year from my review date instead of 18 months later.
Done and done.
Great.
By now, the pattern should be clear. Ask for what you want, support it with rationale and research, and tie it back to your value to the company. Be prepared to compromise, but don't accept a compromise that doesn't fall within your parameters that you established before entering the negotiation. One last example, and then you'll have an opportunity to test your skills under similar circumstances. Brenda has successfully negotiated each of her key issues, but there's one item remaining. A significant amount of her salary will be paid in quarterly bonuses tied to the company's performance. Although her research into the company's finances has left her assured that those bonuses will allow her to reach her expected compensation level, she's not eligible to receive her full share of those bonuses until she's completed her first year of employment.
There's one more issue I'd like to discuss before I take some time to consider your offer, and that's the issue of quarterly bonuses. If I understand it correctly, I'll only be eligible to partial shares for the first 3 quarters of my employment.
Yes, that's correct.
But in that case, then the bonus is intended to bring my salary up to a competitive level rather than to offer a quarterly windfall. See, I understand the reasons for the delayed vestment, but my salary expectations are such that I'm not willing to wait a full year before reaching the agreed upon compensation. Is there any flexibility in the vestment plan?
Unfortunately, there isn't. I might be able to make it up to you in a year-end bonus based on performance rather than profits.
As I understand it, Roger, I'm already eligible for the year-end bonus, so that will not answer my salary concerns. See, the experience that I'll be bringing to this position, along with the amount of responsibility that I'll be assuming as VP, I think warrants some type of creative solution. Will the company consider a signing bonus?
I'm not sure. I'll be happy to look into it for you, though, Brenda.
Thank you. If you could include the specifics of the signing bonus along with the additional details that we discuss in a written offer, I should be ready to make my final decision within the next 48 hours. I'm glad that we were able to sort out the details.
Always leave discussion of a signing bonus until the end of the negotiation. Note that a signing bonus is not something Roger would have offered had Brenda not mentioned it. Proof that if you don't ask, you won't receive. Brenda requested the negotiation points in writing and gave Roger a firm time frame during which she would consider the offer. Let's look at a few more examples. This time, you handle the negotiation. In the first example, let's assume that the negotiation is going well and that you've just learned that you will not be able to take your vacation benefits until after the first 6 months. It's very important to you that you are able to attend a family reunion held at the same time every year, and it's only 2 months away. Without going into detail, you've just asked if there is any flexibility in the vacation policy. This is the response.
It's a long-standing policy of our company that vacation time, although accrued, cannot be taken until after the first 6 months of satisfactory employment. We've found that in the past, it's just not prudent to make exceptions to that rule.
Mary obviously places a great deal of emphasis on what has occurred in the past, so you may be able to leverage your rationale, a long-standing commitment to attend an annual family reunion, to win her over. You should also have noted her choice of words, that the time limit is based to some extent on the assumption that 6 months is somehow a milestone in judging satisfactory performance. Also note the use of her qualification that vacation time is being accrued, although you may not take it until after 6 months. All of these points can help you formulate an effective response, as Ted will demonstrate. Compare his response to your own.
I understand that that might not be the norm. But the reason that I'm asking is because we have an annual family reunion. It's become very important to us. It's 2 months from now, and that should give me enough time to get a feel for my position, and for you to feel comfortable with my commitment. Would CNS be willing to grant me the vacation time accrued up to that point, provided that I meet a list of agreed-upon objectives?
For our next example, let's consider a situation that has become much more common in the past few years: telecommuting. Many employees now work part or full-time from a home office. Although policies may vary, it's important to agree from the outset who will pay for what. The expenses, telephone, internet connection, wireless services, hardware and software can add up, but telecommuting frees up space and resources at the office. When considering what to negotiate, examine your situation carefully. Are you requesting the ability to work from home as a benefit to you, or is it a requirement of your employer? Is there special equipment needed that you don't currently own? Do you have an existing home office, or will you be creating one especially for this job? Once you've considered these questions, outlined your strategy, set your parameters, and developed a rationale, you're ready to negotiate. Let's say that because of requirements of your job and the hectic atmosphere of the office, you've just asked Roger if it might be possible for you to work from home 1 day each week. Your task is threefold. First, you must convince him that it is important to your productivity that a certain number of your working hours are conducted in a peaceful atmosphere without interruptions. Second, you must clearly agree on a method to measure your performance. Third, you must negotiate the financial responsibility for the cost of doing business from home. As you'll see, this is unfamiliar territory for Roger, which puts you in a position to negotiate. How will you build your case?
Working from home. It just hasn't come up before. I know it's done, but I wouldn't know where to begin. Can you tell me what the advantages would be?
Clearly, Roger has given you an opportunity to negotiate from a strong position here. He hasn't said no, and he hasn't outlined any parameters. This is a rare opportunity in your negotiating scenario, and to be successful, you must help Roger to understand the advantages to you and to the company. Begin by referencing the particular tasks that might be difficult to achieve in a hectic office environment, like in-depth weekly reports or a great deal of heavy writing responsibilities. You should then outline the parameters, since none currently exist. They should include measurement tools and a discussion of who will be responsible for the costs associated with your home office. Let's see how Brenda negotiates in this situation.
There's a considerable amount of in-depth financial reporting and analysis required each week. I've found that particularly when dealing with numbers, it's easier to concentrate in an environment that's free of interruptions. And I've already noticed that the pace of business here is fairly intense. And that's fine for a usual daily business, but when it comes to the detail involved in these reports, I think my complete attention is required and would benefit us all. What I would propose is a regular day each week, Friday, when I could work with the data in my home office. Since you will have to invest in a workstation for me anyway, why not make it a laptop computer rather than a desktop? The only other expense I would ask that AWS consider covering would be a one-time upgrade to my home network. I would transmit my reports by the close of business each Friday.
Note that Brenda presented a company-focused rationale for asking to work from home one day a week. She helped her case by stipulating that it would be the same day each week, which would help with the scheduling of regular meetings that she would be expected to attend. She provided a means for measuring her productivity and assured Roger that she would be readily available by electronic means if needed. Finally, she was careful to ask only for the most reasonable of expenses to be covered by the company. What she has gained is the flexibility to work from her home without the distractions of the office. But there are many more benefits to such an arrangement, including a reduction in travel time and cost. All in all, it improves her quality of life and will do the same, presumably, for the quality of her work. Let's look at one final example, and in this case, it's probably the last thing you would normally think of when negotiating a job offer. That is, what provision will your employer make for you in the event of a work shortage, company dissolution, unsatisfactory performance, or other cause for termination? In a contracted position, these items may be clearly spelled out, but until you sign the contract or accept the job, it is negotiable. Let's say that the company's standard package is 2 weeks severance plus payment for any accrued regular vacation time. Although this has been explained to you, you're thinking back on the experience that has gotten you to where you are today, the weeks and months of work, possibly without pay, that you have invested in finding this next employment opportunity. It's completely reasonable to ask your prospective employer to cover outplacement services if they become necessary, and it might even be possible to negotiate additional pay on top of the company's normal severance policy. If this is important to you, you will have considered your strategy before coming into the interview. Now is your chance to apply that strategy and see how it works.